put that in my document. You can review it another time. But I believe strongly this isn't just some kind of emotional thing. And you know me. I'm a product of your class. I was this close to becoming a cog sci major, and I might continue to do so. But I truly believe that the medicine is the cause of the symptoms that they call Parkinson's. I mean,
I think that, well, I don't think it's per se just medicine. I think that the Lyme disease is affecting the areas that cause Parkinson's.
yeah, but
I really do think that.
when I spoke,
Yeah, I don't think it's completely degenerated. Have you, I mean, I know you have two simulators, but to be honest with you, if you were my kid, I would
turn them down.
put you on the Lyme disease protocol
Yeah,
and keep you on it for 2 years.
that's what I'm going to do, and I've started it. Already my digestion's gotten so much better. Um,
I've noticed, let me just say, I've noticed in the last 3 days, since he's been taking that Cinnamon, that is really better.
I don't just take the cinnamon. I devised a way to take the lower amounts, and
Right. Yeah, you almost, I know that it's a scary place to be frozen, and I know it's a scary place to not be able to move.
well, it's not just
But
the movement. It's your fight or flight is on full force. That's what I'm trying to tell my family. It's like your amygdala is going 100%, like a gun to your head. So your mind is shunting blood to your head. Your neuropathy is caused by the shunting blood effect of trying to protect your organs, and it also rushes the blood through your brain faster. Faster cycles it, so
right.
you're perceiving time much faster than normal people. So my voice comes
Right.
out. To me, it sounds normal. To you guys, it sounds fast because I'm quite honestly living in a sped up version of time, just like cats perceive time faster than humans.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is so much of all of your symptoms, all of the extra connectivity, everything that you're experiencing is too much dopamine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself in a schizophrenic state.
Oh, I know, and it does. That's why I'm so grateful. Thank to God that we came down off of it, because the levels I was at was, I mean, you think that you can see, it's true. You make connections that you never. I was going to share this with you, Mary Boy. I think Stephen Hawking's at the time, that was when they invented carbidopa levodopa. I think he was given it, and I think it sped up his pathway to make him a super genius.
Right, but anything that speeds up that, like methamphetamine, all of that will do the same thing. The problem is that you kind of have to get off of Parkinson's Road and get on the Lyme disease road
Thank
with
God.
a physician
Yeah.
Hold on, Oren, please.
Sorry.
What you need to do is really kind of stick to your guns with someone who has actually taken somebody from where you are to a place of healing. What has happened is you have a lot of things layered on top of each other. You've got your immune system activated. You've got a sped up nervous system. And you're kind of like a junkie right now with dopamine. And I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to be easier in the short term, but I think in the long term, you almost have to go full bore with a physician that understands this. And the medical community is so divided, and I just don't understand it. I had a student who had Lyme disease, and she suffered enormously until she found the right physician. She got hit by a tick. She went on a trip with her high school friend, or her school, and it was unbelievable what happened to her. And the story is just heart-wrenching, and it's the same for Ryan. I see it.
Well,
And you have a positive antibody for Lyme disease. You have, not everybody with Lyme disease gets what you have, but you have things that people with Lyme disease have.
well, I've been very grateful to my parents. They had to endure a lot of the hard times, and my mom's an amazing cook, and she's healing me with her food. My dad had to put up with, the hard times, and he's been calm and relaxing the whole time. So I get kind of emotional. But there's so much, I'll just write it out in a document, but there's so much, Mary, that I've recognized and learned through this, especially physiologically. I realize that all my senses, my hearing, my balance, my touch, my taste, even, and to that extent I figured out my vagus nerve as well. It's wide, the campus is wide open. It's receiving sensory stimulus on the magnitudes of, 10x times what is normal. So I'm aware of those things. And
But so this physician that you talked to recently, the one who you sent me some of his report, are you planning on seeing him? What are you doing?
if it was my choice, I'd cut ties with the guy. I wrote him that whole entire symptomatic. Took me 2 days.
No, you mean Dr. Sakar.
Yeah.
Dr. Sakar or
Yeah.
Dr. Estrada?
Dr.
Estrada, I think.
Estrada's the one. I'll send him the protocol. He's putting me on the Lyme protocol. He
Yeah,
has.
he said he was an ND.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about what? I know you were thinking about stem cells. I'm not necessarily sure about that, but what is the upshot of what Estrada has to say?
Well, Estrada wants to reprogram my whole gut through nutrition and different kinds of herbs like resveratrol and glutathione and some other kinds of things. He wants to get.
Now you don't know glutathione when you were in Mexico, right?
Yeah, I had a little bit of it. And
A little, or
well,
did you?
I was inhaling it in a mask, and we also did ozone therapy, and we did some pretty advanced therapies that I found. Oxygen therapy, we did laser Weber light therapy, which that's the studies are showing that it's coming out now too.
Right. So, what happened when you were there? Were you on the dopamine?
Well,
Were you off the dopamine? What happened there?
Real quick story. I got to the point where I was spinning out, and please let me share something with you. This is very difficult because the dopamine takes away your conscious let's just say it makes you very impulsive. It takes away your total inhibition. So I did things that I never would have done, but the highest levels, I was on the highest dopamine.
But that wasn't in Mexico, right?
No,
Make that clear.
I know that's my point, is that I got to the point in school where I'm walking around school trying to maintain, and it got to a point where I'm explaining, string theory to kids in freshman year class. I'm explaining psychoacoustics to kids, and I'm a substitute, I'm explaining graduate level material to kids and drawing pictures on the board. I walk into class and I was making connections that were just out of this world. And it wasn't until the last day that I pretty much OD'd, is what I call it. I was sitting there just in bed, and I realized the next morning that so 40 minutes that I was running out of time. So the next morning, Janae, my wife, she had Lyme disease, and through cosmic events, we had just met each other recently. And we had a beautiful baby, which we still have.
But I want to know is, were you on the dopamine in Mexico?
They cut, for 2 weeks I was off the dopamine. I was like a corpse in a body. 2 weeks, Dr. Kano said, "Oh, you can't come in for 2 weeks," when she knew that.
Honey, she asked you a direct question about the dopamine.
Yes, I was.
In Mexico.
We answered. The answer is yes and no. In Mexico, they get me on one pill a day in the morning. That's when I figured out that the dopamine pill was the cause of it. Because in the morning, I could wake up and walk a little bit, just a little bit, and I'd feel all happy. But then when went out, I can't explain it in 2 seconds. I slowly dosed down off the dopamine. It took me another month and a lot of treatment, IV back therapy with different kinds of protocols, but basically detoxed off of it. I was ready at that point to try new therapy, but it didn't work out that way. So.
What happened? What were you taking when you were there? Let's say when you first got there, were you taking the Rytary? Were you taking Cinemet? What were you taking?
I was taking Rytary at a 195 dose, which is the largest pill that I was off of it for like 2 weeks.
Right. So what happened when you were off of it?
I was barely able to breathe. I mean, I couldn't move at all. I was a corpse, and I just had to hold on every day. My family had to help me go to the bathroom, everything, wash. I couldn't stand up.
Okay. So this was when you were in Mexico. You were completely off of it for 2 weeks. Now,
No,
what about
before I went to Mexico.
I see. What's going on with your stimulators?
Well, Dr. Thakar, the neurologist now, the Hogue neurologist, he's all in the Western camp. He locked them, so he put settings on there and locks them, and I can't change them. So I'm gonna have to go back to him. And
are they helping you?
No, I wouldn't say so. It locks my mouth up. You see, what the stimulators do is they stop the shaking that is caused by too much of the medicine. Dopamine medicine causes shaking after a certain point. After a certain point, your body gets maxed out and you start shaking. Then they give
Where are they?
In my chest.
Do you know what part of it? No.
Or substantia nigra. Substantia nigra.
What part of the substantia nigra? They're not in the globus pallidus?
Yeah, up here.
Yeah, my dad's
right. But what brain structure?
I think in basal something. They're in the substantia nigra, but I'm not exactly sure. I can find out for you.
Right. Well, here's the thing. So your stimulators are on?
Yeah, I turned one down just a couple of marks last night, and I was able to speak better. One thing I noticed too is that in the evening, it's a little bit harder because that's when your amyloid proteins build up, and that's after I sleep and get some good sleep. Like last night, I was feeling a lot better. The medicine works better in the morning because you don't have that plaque in there.
Right. So here's my question: are you able to function with a very low dose of dopamine?
Yes.
And the stimulators?
Yes, and I've yet to kind of, now that I'm a very low dose of dopamine, I've yet to experiment with the stimulators because he only has them on set clock settings. So
well, I think that's reasonable, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah, I do too.
I don't. If I want to take it down, why not?
Here's the problem is you've got a lot of things going on at once, and it's very hard to figure out how to disentangle the spaghetti, right? I pull on one of the spaghetti things, and I can't decide, I can't figure out where it's going. And so what does the Strata say about, he has you on healing your gut. So how is he testing healing your gut? What is he doing to make sure
blood
that
work. He's done blood work in the past.
What's he looking at in your blood?
I'd have to ask him. At that point, I can't remember exactly, but I think he's just looking for markers of inflammation, mostly inflammation, and he's got me on some pretty, extravagant supplements that taking, and lots of fish oil, lots of turmeric, lots of resveratrol. We're going to do the polypeptides on the skin soon. He said that he tried to get somebody to do cyclovir, but I haven't found a doctor to do. I wouldn't agree to do antivirals like cyclovir.
Yeah, but you have to explain that. I'm not exactly sure what type of test that he did, but evidently Ryan says that he's testing positive for herpes.
Yeah. Cool.
And he thinks that may be causing the inflammation.
Well, they're all causing.
It could be, but the problem is that it could be activated because of all of the other stuff, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, right? If you don't sleep properly, if your body is, it seems to me, probably the one thing I would do is just be very disciplined and just lower it. I wouldn't lower it from go from 0 to 60 to 0 on the dopamine right away. I would get myself down, but I would also try to see how these stimulators are helping you, because the stimulators can start to take over some of the functionality instead of using the dopamine. The dopamine is kind of messing you up right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The dopamine is messing with you mentally, it's messing with you emotionally, and it's not letting you heal because you have a lot going on in your head and your body. You've got to kind of lower that. I think
I've done a great. In the
I
last 2
don't want
weeks.
you to be frozen,
No,
but I want that to go down. And I do think that you need to work. I mean, I know Sacker, but all of these guys are,
I'm not
they have a very specific protocol, and unless you have somebody that is a Lyme disease specialist, then you can work with them.
Well, we originally went to the Haltorf
I don't like
group. This is years the group. I know you didn't like him, but he was an MD that treats Lyme disease. Haltorf.
Nicole McFadden is better.
Believe in the total. See, the thing with Lyme disease is almost you need a port, and you need to mainline the antibiotic.
Yeah, that's what he would do, and that's what he originally recommended.
Well, this is 2016.
Years ago.
2016 Lyme. We were seeing both Western and these guys. And when you walk in, there's a kombucha bar and a $5,000 fish tank, and the prices for things are. He's talking about candida. Candida is not going to kill me. Lyme disease and all these other things can kill me.
But here's my question. Here's my question. Regardless of whether you think that they're a ripoff or not, the issue is that there might be good reason to believe that the Lyme disease is part of what's acting still. And until you have, it's almost like a year of antibiotics. I've heard a year is minimum, like mainlining the antibiotic. Your gut is not going to be healed with a year of antibiotics. You just have to eat all the right stuff and repopulate your gut. But it's the antibiotics that are going to heal you.
Okay.
Not the dopamine, but the antibiotics.
Well, that's what he kept telling us.
Can I stop for a second, Mom? He didn't give us the antibiotics. We went to another doctor.
Yes, you did.
Please let me finish, please. We went to Nicole McFadden, who wrote a book on Lyme disease in San Diego. She's near the Gaslamp district. She seemed a little bit more realistic. She prescribed tindazoline, which was a cycle of antibiotics that I started. But the problem was that at the same time, I was going to a UCI doctor who was prescribing Cinemet, titrating up on Cinemet. So it was kind of stuck in this crack where it's like one doesn't help the other. You can't have both. You can't be in both and expect to get healed. So,
well, yeah, that's what happened, Orion. But you were originally
can I finish,
taking
please?
antibiotics and
I know.
antifungals with Dr. Bolter.
No, I wasn't taking. I was taking.
Yeah, you were.
Okay, I beg to differ. Dr. Nicole McFadden was when I was living with Dad the first time, and I had tinzoli, which got me to the point where I could start school again. I went back to school because my shaking had become to a controllable level, and I got my job back, and I was thrilled, you know. And then tinzoli wears off after a while if you don't keep the coating around the borealis gets grows back. It's kind of like it figures it out. So that unless you're cycling through different antibiotics and changing it up on them, they become accustomed to it and they figure it out. So in my case, the tinzoli wore off. I started shaking again, and that's when they sent me to Dr. Kano in school day. I put that in the
Right.
document.
But here's the thing, Ryan. You were feeling better when the antibiotics were coming, and you see the problem is that it all of the Parkinsonism. I don't believe that you have idiopathic Parkinsonism. I don't believe it.
Me neither.
I believe that it came from either an immune response with the Lyme disease or a combination of things. I don't believe for a minute that this is idiopathic.
Thank you. That means
I
the world to me.
believe that you probably have a year plus of antibiotics, mainline antibiotics, and titrate yourself off the dopamine, use the stimulators to help you, and heal from within doing that. I'm not against doing the meditation to help the microbiome. I believe that that's important, but I don't believe that that is going to be as good as doing 100% of the antibiotics for a long period of time, because that is what I've seen. That's what I've read. And you have to go to somebody who believes that protocol, because they have people that have been where you are and have gotten past that.
Well, that's what Betty recommended, that doctor in San Diego.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the doctor in San Diego, but I'll just tell you this. The experience that I've had with my student who had Lyme disease, there are physicians that don't believe in the Lyme disease thing and won't do it. And then you go down to Parkinson's.
That's what happened
at UCI.
Well, that's what happened to Dr. Thakar. He wants to put me on a bag of dopamine that pumps in my body every 5 seconds. Hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna die like that.
But you gotta do the other.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I just the dopamine. I cannot tell you the withdrawals on a daily basis, like 3 times a day. Every muscle in your body, you feel like you're going through hell, and every muscle clenching as hard as you can. To the point where
I think that what's happening is you're ODing on dopamine, and
now
you're not
I'm
seeing
on nothing.
the effects of it. You're not seeing the effects of it because of the stimulators.
Well, I'm down to very base level dopamine now.
Well, that's good.
My dad helped me last week. It took 2 weeks of lying in bed screaming sometimes. It was horrible. Especially the Rytari was just god awful. I mean, I could feel my brain crushing.
But Mary has already said that you can't just cold turkey go
I'm not.
off the cinnamon.
I'm on Cinnamate now, which is different. I switched to Cinnamate 3 days ago, and I figured out.
Right, but you don't want to just stop doing that.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Just ramp it. Just make sure.
You're taking notes.
You can't. It's just like when you quit drinking caffeine, you're gonna get a miserable headache. But there's ways of doing it to help. I mean, why would you do that to your body?
Well,
You're gonna put your body into a lot of shock doing things cold turkey.
Yeah.
But you do need to do the protocol that works for Lyme disease, because you have not only do you have the positive antibody for it, it seems when you did it back a number of years ago, you were making progress, positive progress.
Yeah.
Well, now we just have to find a really good doctor for him to go to that
That's exactly
subscribes to
That's
everything
exactly
that we're
right.
talking about.
That's exactly right. That is 100% of the key. That is the key. And I feel so sad that the medical community is so divided on this. Because
They are. It's amazing. We went to UCI specialist. She was the director of
Dr. Moncova
neurology.
was actually on the fence of things. She didn't just give me a Cinemat. She saw me for a month and a half, and she said, "I'm not sure that this is Parkinson's." She said,
She never really bought it. But on the other hand, she was really dead against the idea that it was Lyme caused.
I don't.
yeah, but he has the antibody, and he has what?
Yes,
so
twice the
Right.
antibodies showed.
right.
It was
So
both times originally and then later.
That's exactly right. So I mean, you know, I'm sure my heart breaks. Okay, it breaks, and your parents are saints.
Yeah, I know. You know,
It hasn't been.
my heart's jumping for joy. I figured out something in the last 2 weeks that really helped me. I've been able to go swimming in the ocean yesterday. I went to my niece's soccer game. You see me at the end of the night, like I said, the amyloid protein started to build up. I slept a whole night last night. That's due to the ashwagandha. And I'm dosing off these meds.
That's awesome. Okay, I have an idea. You know, there's a random study out there, but people with Parkinson's can grow, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it.